What is up, everybody? Welcome. We're going to wait for a few to trickle in. We've got lots of exciting news to share from our last event. We've got a great lineup today of startups and panelists. We've got Haley back hosting. There's lots to like. I'm going to start telling you guys all the exciting things from our last event that's happened in the last 4 weeks. We've had quite a bit of funding happen. LJ from Aesthetic closed his entire round directly from investors from this live stream. We love to see stuff like that. Congratulations to LJ. Akshay, he's still got a little bit of money to fill. We'd love to have some more investors in there. He closed 3 directly from the stream. If you haven't checked out Beam, please do. He's got a lot of really interesting stuff going on. He's got 1 million people on his wait list. He's trying to get the funding to get those people back onto Beam. Nikki's got a lot of momentum. Please check out what they have for assets under management. They're constantly increasing by what looks like $1 million a week. Pearson from JellyPod, he closed 200 of his 250 that he was looking for. So please check out JellyPod. We've got a lot more exciting stuff. I believe Blossom closed around. So we're looking really good after our last event, and we're hoping to get that going into the same momentum today. We've got, like I said, an amazing panelist. I'm going to bring Haley up to introduce everybody, and get ready to click that invest button.
Thanks, Matt, and congrats to all the founders who participated last time. Wow, what an amazing result. I know it's going to be even better today. We have amazing teams here and amazing panelists too. I'll introduce them in just a second. But first, I'm Haley. I'm an investor with Hustle Fund. We're a pre-seed fund investing in software all over the world. And I know we're excited, but we have to cover some really quick ground rules. So today's event's going to be a little different. There are some prizes to give away. The winner will receive $2,500 in video edits from ChopShop. Thank you, ChopShop. If you're looking to create content that converts, ChopShop can take whatever you give them and create highly engaging content that hooks, compels, and sells. And I know how hard this is. I've been struggling with creating all of these highlight videos for the last couple of weeks. So ChopShop is a great resource. The process has been honed over 30 years of tinkering, testing, combining AI efficiency with talented human touch to deliver scroll-stopping results in a matter of hours instead of weeks. So save a ton of time with them. They're professional, efficient, and economical, taking content from chaos to conversion. We love to hear that. They say there's no such thing as good, fast, and cheap, but they've got the Venn diagram covered. So visit chopshop.co to learn more and turn your assets into ad sets. That's good, right? Today. I didn't write that. I can't get credit for that.
They actually did our intro video for today too. So if you like
okay.
That's what you get. That's what you get when
you request the flames.
Yes, I did. I actually said to them I wanted WWE meets Shark Tank, and that's what came out. So
right before we jumped on, Matt was like, anyone with their volume turned all the way up when they jump is going to be surprised and hopefully delighted. So thanks for being here.
I'm sorry if anyone had their headphones in, but
you're welcome. You're awake. You're ready for some amazing pitches now. That's how it goes. Let's go ahead and start introing our panelists. We'll kick it off with Ryan Holmes, our founder of Hootsuite and LOI Venture. Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going? Would love to hear a quick intro for our amazing audience today.
Going great, Haley. Good to see you again. It's always nice to have the energy in the room. Just excited to be here. I've been working with LOI, doing all sorts of pre-seed seed investing, pretty vertical agnostic. But I love B2B, and I love all the companies coming up today. Super excited to see what they're up to.
Excited to hear your questions and your thoughts. You always have great feedback and ideas for the entrepreneurs. So thanks for being here, Ryan. Next up, we have Derek Bugley from Foreign Ventures. Derek, would love to hear your quick background.
Hey, thanks, Haley. Nice to meet everyone. I joined Foreign Ventures in the fall of last year, which is a early pre-seed accelerator fund. Prior to that, I was a founder for 12 years, 3 B2B companies. 1 exited, 1 still chugging along, I think, according to my Carta stock options, and the third I've wound down. So I've kind of seen a lot of crazy stuff, both good and bad. So looking forward to kind of meeting these companies and hearing their pitches and asking some good questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much for jumping on board, Derek. We're excited to have you here. Next up, we have Matt Ridenour, head of Google for Startup Ecosystem USA. Matt, welcome. Would love an intro.
Hey, good to see y'all. Thanks, Haley. I'm Matt Ridenour, like ride your bike an hour. I'm over at Google. You can think of the accelerator team at Google kind of like YC internally for Google, where we're finding amazing early stage, usually pre-seed up to Series A companies, helping them grow with the best of Google's people's products and programs. And I come from a background of UX design, startups, was at IDEO running accelerators before this, and thrilled to be with you all today. It's going to be fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. And last but not least, our fourth panelist is Zach Johnston from 2048 Ventures. Zach, would love your background as well.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me here. Really excited. I'm an associate at 2048 Ventures. So we're a pre-seed and seed stage fund focusing on platforms, infrastructure, and API companies. Been with the 2048 team now for about a year and a half. Before that, I spent 2.5 years at an accelerator here in Toronto called the Creative Destruction Lab, which was mostly like very early stage, pre-seed, seed stage, deep tech companies, mostly university spinouts, but very excited to hear the pitches today.
Wow, Colonel team brought out the heavy hitters. This is awesome. Thanks for jumping on.
And the beards.
Yeah, I feel we can discuss this later. Before we kick things off,
Various shades based on like success, maybe. I don't know. Mine isn't as gray as Ryan's yet, so
That's stress, baby.
oh, wow. The founders have a lot to look forward to that are coming up on stage in just a moment here. Before we kick things off with them, just so you know how today's going to flow, we have 4 startups that will share their own 4-minute pitch. During the pitch, we would love for you to click to like, connect, and invest through the buttons on the screen. They'll appear at the bottom of the screen so you can get in touch with these founders and give them some encouragement. You can click the pitch details to see their deck, metrics, and more info if you're interested. Good way to get engaged. And then after the founder has finished their pitch, we'll bring up our 4 all-star judges and they will share a bit on their thoughts, questions. We'll go in order each time. So judges, don't worry, I'll call on you so that you get some feedback from them and hear their thoughts. So a quick recap, if a founder's pitch catches your eye, tap the buttons below to get connected, express your interest in investing or to meet with them afterwards. Now, enough of me. I think we should move things on to our first founder. And just a reminder to the investors in the crowd, you have to be accredited if you want to connect with these founders. So we're here to facilitate intros, not transactions. Nothing we share today is investment advice. Let's get on to the pitches. We have Arshan, the CEO and founder of WorkSense.ai first, improving employee engagement and retention. Arshan has a ton of incredible experience in product from companies including Workday, Oracle, and Autodesk, but I'm sure he'll share more and hopefully a fun fact too.
Yeah, thanks, Haley, for having me. I'm Arshan, CEO of WorkSense. Like I said, or like you said, have product experience at these companies. And I guess a quick fun fact about me is that I went to prison, but I was a chaplain in prison.
Okay, that's a better way to kick things off. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Awesome. So I guess I can get started if that works for you. Great. Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Arshan, CEO of WorkSense. We're on a mission to boost employee sentiment and retention. So 300 HR leaders told us that these 2 are the most important problems facing leaders. Yet they solved this problem with broken engagement surveys, a practice that hasn't changed since World War I. The impact of broken surveys is productivity loss and disengagement. Gartner found that 22% of survey data is accurate. You're better off flipping a coin to learn how employees feel. And Gallup reports that employee engagement and survey response rates have plummeted since COVID. And a survey done below by Microsoft is an example of just how inaccurate surveys are when asking the same question to employees and leaders. They also cost a lot of money, on average $500,000 to $1 million, and they take about 4 to 6 months, 1 to 2 months of writing questions, 2 months of getting employees to take it, and if you're lucky, 2 months analyzing it. And we have so much data on employees, yet we only use 15% of it to understand engagement. Well, AI has unlocked analyzing unstructured data. So IBM even tried building this back in 2016, but technology was the roadblock. And the new normal is that the workforce is now hybrid and remote. And that means that the manager and employee discrepancy is at an all-time high. So why are we building this? We were the team building surveys and people analytics at Workday and know exactly where they fall short. We have a combined 10 years of experience in HR tech. I also was a growth lead at Dave, where helping to scale to 11 million users and a $3 billion IPO. And as I mentioned before, I was a federal prison chaplain, growing our group from 4 to over 200 inmates. Yezin, our CTO, is an AI and scalable systems engineer. He built an app that was downloaded by 400,000 users organically. And we have advisors who have served as CHROs at companies such as Walmart, Binance, and even early employees at Workday. And we're backed by Alchemist Accelerator, and Antler. So we're building WorkSense, automating team sentiment. So what we do is integrate with employee communication and SaaS tools. We give real-time sentiment on well-being, engagement, performance, etc., along with understanding high performers, critical roles, and flight risks, and then hyper-personalize it to give AI-based actionable recommendations and cost savings on retention. This is an experience loved by the whole team. It's honest. The data doesn't lie. There's no bias in the data either. It's automatic. We capture everything in real time. It's private. Our AI model anonymizes the data, and we only look at public messages. The data is then aggregated from groups with at least 5 members, and we go beyond legal compliance to prioritize confidentiality. And it's frictionless. The average onboarding time for our customers has been about 20 minutes. So 5WPR has saved over 350 hours on survey creation and analysis, and they're projected to save $200,000 on addressing burnout. Sales Clover focused on disengaged high performers, and as a result, already saved $1.2 million on regrettable attrition. If Salesforce or Meta had used us, they would not have to rehire the roles that they laid off. The workforce has been growing, and retention and engagement are the top problems for employers. We charge anywhere from $10 to $15 a user a month, and with 1 billion knowledge workers in the world, that gives us a TAM of $144 billion. Competitors either go after speed or accuracy of data, but no one really does both. You have companies like CultureAmp and Lattice that get more accurate data with one-on-ones, performance reviews, OKRs, and surveys, but it takes them 4 to 6 months to get that data. On the other hand, companies like ActiveTrack and Terramind look at superficial data, such as keystrokes, mouse movements, and time spent on apps. They get data really fast, but it's inaccurate. We do both, and by integrating with these tools, that data becomes our moat. So we have 10 paying customers at $102,000 in ARR in just a short 4 months, along with 24 signed pilots, including enterprises such as ADT and Chick-fil-A. We're growing at about 80% month over month, and our AI model has trained on over 3 million messages. And since we integrate to get that deeper data, we plan to grow beyond engagement to performance reviews, recruiting, compliance, and security. If we even half our current growth rate, we'll still hit $1 million in ARR by the end of the year. Our sales cycles are shrinking, and our average deal sizes are increasing. Our current signed pilots represent $400,000 in the pipeline. So we're raising $2 million for 12 months of financing so we can hit that $1.5 million in ARR, and we already have $600,000 committed from angels and Antler also. We're building a world where managers will champion their workers to see their true value. Join us on this journey to transform people management forever. Thank you.
Awesome job, Arshan. Looks like you've identified an amazing gap in the market. If you're interested in connecting with Arshan, I know lots of likes are flowing in. Don't forget to use the buttons below to connect. But we'll go ahead and kick off our Q&A. We'll have Ryan start us off with the first question.
Hi, Arshan. Great intro, great pitch. Thank you. I've led a company of 1,200 people and know a lot of the pain of what you're trying to solve here. So I love it, and I think that somebody's going to be the AI winner in this. Like, do you become Workday or does Workday become you here, and who gets there first? Question for you, I guess, would be on your first couple of customers. You're looks like you're doing like an enterprise sale. Like, how are you finding and acquiring, and what's the general path to a sale been like?
Yeah, great question, Ryan, and awesome to meet you. So we actually have been going after like the small and mid-sized market first, and then kind of getting the pilots with enterprise. As you know, the sales cycle is quite long with like companies like ADT and Chick-fil-A, like I mentioned. So what we've been doing is basically top-down sales, 100% cold outreach on LinkedIn. And HR leaders are really buzzing about employee engagement, and especially with the Great Resignation and quiet quitting. I mean, when we just talking about engagement, I mean, our response rates are actually incredible. Like almost 10% of people respond to us on LinkedIn. And so we're able to get meetings that way. And so in order to get the early customers, what we've done is kind of identified like the small, medium-sized companies that either have a small HR team, they don't have like a compliance team. And so for them, it's like, I just need help. I don't have people analytics ready to go. And so they just need kind of automation and ease there. So we're able to get, on average, our employees are about 200, or sorry, the companies that are paying are about 250 employees. So we're able to get kind of right in the mid-size before we go after enterprise.
Got it. Thanks.
Derek, any questions for Arshan?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have. I mean, the last 3 companies I built were in like HRIS, HR systems. So I definitely have some knowledge here, and great pitch too. I definitely agree with Ryan. I guess my question is, in terms of you're connecting the data systems, the integrations in, are you focused on any category or segment of employee? Obviously, like measuring a data science team versus like a frontline workforce team is different. And then like making those recommendations, right? Like and then determining how they aren't engaged, especially with where these folks sit and jobs they do. Like any kind of insight into what types of teams in these organizations have the greatest pull, or like any kind of wedges into specific teams with low
Definitely.
engagement?
Yeah, no, Derek, great question. So what we have, basically, it's almost like the front office kind of matters, right? And so what we've heard from our customers basically is that like engineering and sales have been like the kind of the biggest bang for the buck. And so that's what we're doing is identifying critical roles and flight risks within that industry. And unfortunately, not all attrition is created equally. So regrettable attrition is kind of like the big metric for them. And so for a lot of them, it's usually like the best salespeople, I don't want them to leave, or the best engineers. And so what that means is we've been building integrations for like Jira and Confluence for our engineering team, but also for HubSpot and Salesforce for our sales teams. And so those two have been kind of like our big bang for our buck in terms of almost like front office is kind of where they've been focusing on.
Awesome. Thank you. Matt.
Arshan, agree. Yeah, awesome work. I saw you're an IDEO alum too. That's cool. We should chat about that. I was curious to hear more about. I'm sure there are many reasons why someone would hire you as a client. What are reasons that they wouldn't? What have you heard from potential would-be customers that kind of move on?
Yeah. So as a brand new pre-seed startup, we get that all the time. We get more rejections than we get acceptances. So that's very, very fair. Normally, it's really around, again, can you prove your value? But number two, the biggest one actually for us has been, again, around compliance and security. That's why we're really taking a step back and saying, we need to get SOC 2, we need to get HIPAA compliance, ISO, and really kind of build like a security data room so that companies can trust us. Because I mean, we are looking at messages and kind of proprietary data. And so we want to be very careful in how we kind of sell that and make sure that we're compliant. And as we saw with CrowdStrike and just kind of things that have been happening, we want to make sure that we have built trust in there, that people feel safe with their data. So that's been kind of the number one reason why they say no.
Zach, what's top of mind for you?
Yeah, really, really love the pitch, Arshan. I think biggest question for me, I'm curious to know a little bit more on in terms of what are the kind of key signals that you guys are looking to pull from that data, from that message data, and then how are you communicating it back to your customers to kind of prove to them that it's working? What are the main metrics that they're looking for to show that this is giving them value?
Yeah, totally. So what we're doing is we're looking at, or the way we're actually looking at data is not only are we looking at messages, which is a big part of it, we're actually also looking at metadata. So we'll look at things like your time of message, time between responses, who you're messaging. And then also we'll look at, for example, when we integrate with Zoom or Calendar, we'll look at if you come 5 minutes late to your meeting or how many one-on-ones you have with your manager. So there's a lot of metadata along with just like the general messages that we look at. And in terms of what the client sees or the customer sees, we wanted to keep it very natural. I'm sure Derek can really resonate with this, but HR likes pretty colors and they like kind of big charts and they want to kind of keep it very simple. We don't want to overload them with Tableau, let's say. And so we give them just basic charts on like heat maps. We give them like a time series, just like a general dimension of scores, very similar to like our competitors like Culture Amp and Glint and Qualtrics. So we show them something familiar. They just don't have to do the 6 months of data to get the data. It's there from day one.
Awesome. Thank you, Arshan, for answering all of our questions. Great job. If you want to connect with Arshan, don't forget to click the buttons below. We'll move on and invite our next founder up to the stage. Valkyrie is reducing natural disaster risk for homeowners and insurers as the CEO and founder of Fora. In addition to her impressive work history at NASA and SpaceX, she, I think, may be the queen of meme creation for the climate risk content. So give her a follow on LinkedIn if you want to smile and learn. Thanks for being here, Valkyrie.
No, yeah, thank you so much, Haley. Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I started off a lot of my work in traditional data science and engineering at space tech companies, and then got a grant to work in sustainability from Alexis Ohanian, one of the past co-founders of Reddit. And it was very open-ended. They basically said, do something in sustainability for 2 years. And I kind of fell into natural disaster risk and eventually insurance, which is where Fora started. And in terms of a fun fact, I was actually born and raised in Las Vegas, but only recently, like in the last week, learned how to play poker. So I was very much failing my Vegas roots with that one. Shame to say, but we're learning now.
Amazing fun fact. Okay, we'll have to take that one offline. Well, good luck. We'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Did you know that 2 in 5 people in the US will be impacted by a natural disaster in the next 3 years? That's 40%, practically half of the people listening to this. Now, it's no secret the world is getting hotter, with the number of billion-dollar disasters skyrocketing to 28 last year, with many residents losing their most valuable assets, their homes. Now, let's talk about insurance. If you own a home, you're definitely going to want to listen up. Insurance is a business that only makes money when you take on risks for events that are small or rare and infrequent. It used to be that the best properties to insure were the ones without any natural disaster risk, but that market is becoming few and far between. As of 2023, over 53% of all available home insurance policies have been dropped in the same 3-year period. And that means people like you and I can no longer find insurance at all, let alone affordable insurance. When we start to connect the dots between the impact of disasters and the insurability crisis, this becomes a terrifying reality for over 84 million families in the US. Now, companies like State Farm, Allstate, Farmers, Chubb have all canceled or non-renewed hundreds of thousands of policies in coastal states. And here's the kicker. Because they don't understand their climate exposure, they're pulling out of the market entirely and missing out on billions of dollars in premium that should be easily accessible to them. But we know it's not just about which properties are going to be hit by a natural disaster. It's a question of which properties are going to survive. My name is Valkyrie Holmes, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fora. We help insurers find more profitable business in disaster-prone areas while helping homeowners reduce their risk and stay profitable. Now, when you submit a quote for an insurance policy, an underwriter needs more information to actually sign on, so they ping our platform to get a better look. You as the homeowner then get a text with your own personalized self-assessment where you walk around for 5 to 10 minutes collecting pictures and videos of your most potent risk factors. We then take that and input it into our scoring system to provide both parties with a better idea of how to upgrade their survivability. Now, in terms of competition, most players are using satellite or aerial imagery to place a lot of their risk. But you can only get so much information from the sky, leaving a ton of risk way out in the open. Others rely on sending physical inspectors to the property, which is both time-consuming and expensive, with both options providing no tangible value to the homeowner. We're the only disaster risk assessment on the market that gives insurance companies the data they need to expand their books of business. Fully white-labeled and customizable, our software allows both parties to make meaningful changes to their most valuable assets. We turn property characteristics into actionable insights and tangible value all in less than 10 minutes. By assigning each parcel with a resilient score, we've begun to change the way insurance companies look at the profitability of their portfolio. But don't take it from me. Let's take a sample case study from Napa Valley. For properties in the area, the average time from inspection request to completion without Fora was nearly 3 weeks. In that same time, a single underwriter could have bound over 300 policies. That's 300 more people that now have insurance. With our assessment, we were able to cut that down to 72 hours, unlocking over $600,000 in available premium in the same summer. Now, the home insurance market in the US is a $230 billion market that grows 4% every year. Companies in the industry are typically spending over $3 billion just on underwriting reports alone, with an added $50 billion for modeling and inspections. We target this opportunity by providing companies with everything they need to make the right decision the first time. And since February, we went from just under 1,000 to over 6,000 for assessments, 7,000 actually today, unlocking over 100,000 in risk reduction benefits for homeowners. Our existing customers are on the cutting edge of risk management, including Liberty Mutual, with over $50 billion in AUM across the country. And what we're really excited about is the fact that this impacts way more than insurance companies. Our vision is to create a comprehensive data set of the survivability of every property in the US. And that's for banks, lenders, smart city planners, real estate professionals, and so many more, protecting all of our most valuable assets. Now, our team is its own force of nature. Again, I previously worked for NASA and SpaceX on commercial rideshare, as well as founding a startup that helps firefighters contain wildfires on the front lines. My co-founder and CTO, Amanda Southworth, has been in this space for over a decade, building accessibility technology for Target, Apple, Godiva, and many more. Not only that, but we have an esteemed board of advisors with close to 25 years of experience in insurance, building climate models and tools that are still being used for millions of policyholders today. At our core, we are preparing the homes of today for the disasters of tomorrow. By equipping insurance companies with the most accurate picture of risk, we help homeowners just like you find more affordable policies in areas that would have been uninsurable. We know which properties are going to survive a natural disaster, and now you can too. Thank you.
Awesome, Valkyrie. It is wild how quickly this problem is escalating. Thanks for tackling this. Excited to hear from the judges. Quick reminder, if you want to connect with Valkyrie, learn more, invest, make sure to click the buttons below. We'll bring our panelists back up to the stage and have Derek ask the first question.
Hey, Valkyrie. And it's funny. I remembered something about the company. I think a while ago you chatted with someone at our company. I just messaged someone. I was like, I think you've interacted with Forum, so I'll have to reconnect there. But clearly, it's an issue. Clearly, it's a large problem. Are you like? I guess is the pull like where are you seeing the pull strongest right now? Obviously, there's a lot of natural disaster, climate, everything else. Are the insurers pulling you in for one specific? Like, is there one primary kind of major problem from either of these target customers that's like able to build that repeatability? How does the like similar to what Ryan asked earlier? How's like the go to market kind of motion and that strong pull early on? Kind of I don't know. What are you feeling right now in terms of your outbound and inbound motion for selling?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of kind of like where we're seeing a lot of pull, insurance companies at the end of the day really just care about one thing, and that's their loss ratio. They just don't want to be in the red. And so the biggest thing that we're aiming for with insurance companies is, yes, we're reducing the cost of in-person inspections, and yes, we're creating, a faster time to bind for a lot of these policies. But at the end of the day, if we're pinpointing properties that will be more profitable for them, that's reducing their loss ratio in the long run. So that's typically what we aim for. In terms of just like general go-to-market, all of our inbound and outbound comes through LinkedIn. Haley alluded to this before, but I've taken the LinkedIn influencer route a little bit. So a lot of our current clients found us through a post that we did or a pitch that we did on LinkedIn or some kind of element surrounding that. And so we're finding these companies that are small to mid-sized insurers, typically that lie in specialty markets, things like coastal risks, wildfire on the Front Range area. And then now we've expanded to all natural disasters. So hail, flood, earthquake, you name it. But majority in North America still.
Okay. And then one additional thing, like with the model you're building, is there any ability for other have you got any other interest outside of the insurers, I guess, or are you pulling in these existing models and then kind of building something on top? Like what does the data kind of modeling look like and the architecture look like you're building without spending the next hour on that, but like just high level?
Yeah, so we built our own resilience model from existing climate data and property data from both claims and publicly available kind of like satellite and aerial imaging. And a lot of that revolves around the survivability of a property. So it's individual property characteristics, the condition of material, the material itself, and things like that. And so with a lot of the companies that we're working with, injection point is within kind of like supplementing on top of their existing climate models. Like, okay, an underwriter knows this property is a high risk area. We need more information about how high risk it actually is and giving that second dimension of risk.
Thanks, Derek. Matt, what do you want to double click on here?
Valkyrie, thanks. As a Northern Californian, I appreciate your work. So I'm curious, what's the biggest challenge that you're looking at over the next 6 months that you're really hoping to figure out?
Yeah, so we're actually building something to combat this problem right now. But it's essentially, we're technically an enterprise and we know that the sales cycles for insurers can tend to be a little bit longer. But one thing that we noticed was if we're pitching to add another step onto an underwriting workflow, that takes way more months of time to actually get approved. Because when you think about it, if an underwriter has to spend a couple more minutes of their day looking at another data source, that amounts to, hundreds of thousands of hours in the company to actually make all of those decisions, even if they are more profitable ones, right? So we're looking at it from a time perspective. So when we're plugging into these companies now, it's either we're plugging in via the inspection angle and replacing their in-person inspection. So there's no time sink there. It's exactly what they would be looking at traditionally, or it's just another API that they ping. So we have an existing API that they can request inspections from, but now we have 4 quick assessments, which are basically you input an address, we source third-party information without the inspection, and then you get a preliminary resilience score that allows you to pass a policy to bind without having to wait for the inspection process. So the problem is kind of just, finding those ins. And if there isn't an inspection element currently in the company, how do we continue to add value without adding a ton of time?
Cool.
Zach.
Yeah, thanks so much, Valkyrie. Definitely a growing problem. Unfortunately, I think my main question, and maybe this is somewhat related to Derek's second question there, was around the home survivability data set that you guys are looking to build out. I'd be curious to understand, What are the big unlocks or new opportunities that you guys think having that proprietary data set will bring you into the future beyond this initial customer type or maybe initial use case?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of kind of like in the last part of the pitch, I touched on, real estate and banks and lending and smart cities and all of those different things. And a lot of that revolves around less on kind of like the survivability aspect and more on insurability. So we're talking to realtor.com and like Zillow and a couple other like aggregators specifically about, hey, you have a climate score that tells people what the likelihood of them being impacted by a disaster is. Do you have an insurability score that tells them if they're even going to be able to close on this property, right? So a lot of the impact of building out this survivability database is to be able to train more models on this insurability score. And we already have preliminary ones that are in beta and testing with a bunch of different partners. And it's really just about like honing in on what makes a property insurable and how that there's tons of applications for real estate owners and professionals, project management, and things like that. So the insurability score is ultimately one of the biggest use cases for us.
Ryan seemed deep in thought there. Any thoughts for Valkyrie and any questions? You're muted, sorry.
I'm on mute. There we go. I was just thinking about how Valkyrie got the best name in the world ever. What a combo.
I was about to say, yeah, we're twinning with the last names here. So
Twinning and your first name, powerful. Yeah, so I love it. I think this is like, yeah, unfortunately, as people said, super, super timely. You hear about this more and more. And so I think it's pretty exciting. I don't really have, a lot of questions for you, but I think there's a couple things that maybe observations, once you are, you get a bad score on this, I think there's an interesting mitigation like services business that could come out of it where, you send in the team and they basically look at a bunch of factors to how to improve your score so you can get back in the good books, which is, potentially another interesting thing to think about. And then also, I guess it's a bit of a question for you. Like, how do you think about like freshness of score, right? Where an insurer, like they take on this house now, but in 5-10 years, is it still the same score? And I think that's probably a good thing for your business because they're going to have to keep buying the data, the insurers. So just wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I'll answer your second question first. With regards to that, because we're typically plugging in at the inspection level, insurers are required to do an inspection at least once a year. Many of them do them once, twice, maybe even 3 times if it's an extreme risk area, right at the cusp of wildfire season, hurricane season, etc. So we're already plugging into an area where they would typically request that data every year. And so that's kind of how we see a lot of the scalability where we're on new business for requesting that property, but also on renewals, also during these seasons, et cetera. And on the first point, we're way ahead of you on that, Ryan. We basically in the report, whenever it's generated, the underwriters get their own version of the report that breaks down the property by zone. But policyholders at the end aren't just getting a checklist that says, hey, great, you completed this. Thank you very much for all this data. They're getting their resilience score, a list of action items that are priced out by cost, effort, the actual risk of the specific action, along with products and services in their area that they can use to complete those action items and to get some kind of incentive. So like we started working in these like Firewise communities originally and found that there was a lack of incentives for a lot of those areas. So that was a big thing that we built out early on that insurers tend to love because they don't have to do any of the heavy lifting with referring homeowners to do things.
Awesome. Good to hear. Thanks.
Thank you to all the panelists for the questions. Thank you, Valkyrie, for all the answers. That was fantastic. And it seems like there's great momentum and interest in what you're building. Don't forget to click the buttons below to get in touch with Valkyrie and learn more. Let's keep it moving, though. We'll bring Derek up next from American Binary. Derek and team are tackling one of the biggest threats as quantum becomes adopted, rendering conventional security obsolete. So Derek spent a ton of time at Facebook, Meta, and has been diving into this problem. Excited to hear more from you, Derek, and maybe a fun fact while you're at it.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so I spent 6 years at Facebook. They've actually asked me to come back twice because part of my job is keeping Mark out of Congress, and since I'm gone, he's now back in front of Congress. So read into that what you will. I'm going to go really quick because we have limited time here. Our team is made up of multidisciplinary technologists, veterans, and entrepreneurs with successful exits, as well as a sales lead who's got a track record of taking startups from zero revenue to significant revenue. We have 10 patents in related areas of cryptography and cybersecurity, and you can see at the bottom some logos of companies that we come from, including big tech and big defense. The problem we're solving, like Haley mentioned, is that quantum computing is coming, and it's going to turn your existing cybersecurity into tissue paper. And it's not just us saying that, it's actually the NSA saying that, but the NSA is saying that through policy. And the policy says you need to use new cryptography that can withstand the attack from a quantum computer as early as 2025. Now, a lot of people start asking, well, a quantum computer isn't going to be here for another 3 or 5 years. Why do I need to do it so soon? And the answer is bad actors are harvesting your data today and storing it to decrypt it later once they have a quantum computer. So what you thought was a straightforward A to B transaction of your data, there is someone sitting in the middle, almost like an evil squirrel, storing that information to break into it once they have the right tool. It's a really big problem, and Deloitte agrees. People who are working from cafes and airports and especially conferences are routine targets for this. And so that means any of your information that's going to be relevant in the next 3 or 5 years, like your IP or your financial or your healthcare information, is already under attack. The only solution for that is using quantum resistant software. So we make a quantum resistant VPN that is completely secure from all current and future means of decryption. And it's a really big problem. All the big agencies are saying you should talk to vendors about this actually yesterday, and we're one of those vendors. By the way, that NSA policy specifically says VPNs need to use post-quantum cryptography by 2026. So there's a forcing function around the corner for us. So if you remember that problem from earlier, this problem called a harvest attack where bad actors are harvesting your data, if you use a regular VPN, you'll be vulnerable to it. But if you use our VPN, we can make sure your data is completely unbreakable by any known current or future means. And again, it's not just us saying that. NSA has told us so, and we can dive into that in the Q&A. So has Verizon, their future tech team reviewed this, and then so has Oracle, their cryptography review board. Basically put us through 6 months of due diligence to check if we were the real deal or not. And they determined that we are. We're kicking off a paid POC with them in the next week. We're structuring the contract right now. By the way, 3 of our competitors did not make it through that process. And that's because if you zoom out and look at the competitive landscape with security on the horizontal axis and network speed on the vertical axis, you'll see us in the top right, which I'm sure everybody always is, but we can back this up. If you look at all of our competitors' tech, you'll see big names like Google, Facebook, Amazon, all saying the same problem I did exists. And they all say we fixed it. But if you look a little bit deeper in their technology, you realize they don't comply with the NSA standard. Therefore, their technology actually falls apart under a real quantum attack. And a lot of people then ask, well, why don't they do what you did? And the answer is they could, but it's going to take them about 18 months. And that's what Oracle told us during due diligence. They said it would take Oracle 18 months to get to where you are today. And they already have a VPN and hundreds of millions of dollars. So we have an 18-month lead on the market right now, and that's why we're doing this raise to help capitalize on that lead. Oh, by the way, our VPN also goes faster than everybody else's too. We can dive into that in the Q&A if you want to learn how we did that as well. This has earned us some industry recognition. By the way, we didn't buy our way on any of these lists like most people do. Booz Allen put us in their top 10 emerging tech for the DoD and national security. You'll see in the white quote there in the middle the exact same problem statement, which is harvest attacks are happening now, your data is being collected. The only solution is PQC, and you should have done this sooner. We've also hit some early adopter revenue. We have a very narrow Windows VPN out to market right now. 6 deals closed, 2 are direct customers, 4 are resellers. We have $1.5 million ARR in the pipe, and we figured out how we're getting to market. We can talk about that later too. The pipe is a blessing and a curse, as they want products that we haven't yet released. They want the mobile versions, they want the Mac and Linux versions of our product. And these are companies who are in deep tech, they're also in defense. Folks who really know what they're doing and have sensitive data want our product right now, and we need to hire the product delivery team to get there, and that's what this raise is all about. We're looking for $2 million, gets us to $1 million ARR. That's going to get us the products I mentioned before, plus a couple that'll shorten the sales cycle and help those resellers manage their environments. And it'll up-level the maturity of our QA, tech ops, and support programs. We have a convertible note open now. The terms are here. We have a hiring plan. We know we want to ramp our burn. We've previously been funded $3.85 million, 1.85 in the last 12 months, $2 million in the years before that, where we spent a long time making sure we got our technology right. Notable investors include actually the Chief Science Officer of Google X, among others. And that is the presentation.
Wow, Derek, first mover advantage and I guess fear as a pretty powerful sales motivator to close deals, move that pipeline along. If you want to connect with Derek and learn more about American Binary, don't forget to click the buttons below. We'll bring our panelists back up to the stage and we will have Matt kick us off with the first question for Derek.
Derek, thank you. Cybersecurity, of course, huge opportunity. Curious, you're talking about competitors like Oracle, Google, large scale. You're saying that you have 18 months kind of lead. How do you maintain that lead in the future, or does that matter to you as these massive companies are ramping up, building out, have a lot of resources?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is, it's weird in that your competitor could also be your closest collaborator, right? So Oracle, while they do have an enterprise VPN, they looked at us and they chose between build versus buy. They said, we're going to go with you guys. So that's turning into a really symbiotic relationship. There's huge synergies there. We can extend our lead with a partnership like Oracle by improving the economics on servers. Servers are actually the biggest cost driver of VPNs. And if we can cut those costs down, we can then maintain a margin that others aren't able to reproduce. So that's one option. The other is that cryptography is a rapidly evolving field. Our CTO is he's a wizard. He is the reason I told Facebook no twice, right, as far as coming back goes. He is so up to speed with this. We actually met with the chief cryptographer who wrote the NSA standard, and he fell in love with our CTO and said, we'll actually help you out with our labs to help standardize your product. So Cisco got extremely huge actually by a network protocol. That is the engine inside of their VPN. We have one inside our VPN. We can take that out and we can actually get that standardized by NSA. And so that creates a whole nother moat that is far, far beyond what is available to other people.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Zach.
Thanks so much, Derek. Yeah, I think first question I had, I know at the end you mentioned, defense, enterprise. I'd be curious to understand, is there an initial kind of target vertical or verticals where you see this being most applicable, essentially like who you guys think the kind of near-term ICP will be?
Totally, yeah. So right now we're focused on finance, risk, so kind of MSSP, so the extra S is for security. And then also on the defense side of the house, because they really need this, right? Our goal is to protect the most critical data, and that's, what gives America the best advantage on the global stage, and that's IP, and that's also our national security, right? So finance, super risk averse. We have traction there thanks to people who are in our close network. Same thing in the risk/MSSP space, and same thing in the defense space. Typically, we're talking to CISOs, for example. A lot of them, in fact, are not really. A lot of them we find aren't even working right now. And we say, well, won't you need this at your next job? And they say, well, I might not take my next job because I can actually be held liable now for the faults of my predecessors. You can look at SolarWinds as an example. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, hey, look, if you do this now, that's not going to happen to you. You can avoid those civil liabilities that were levied against the SolarWinds CISO by using our tech. And so we're finding that resonates in those sectors.
Thanks, Zach. Ryan.
Love it. Thanks for this, Derek. It's definitely on the horizon. It's a little tangential, but I love to hear your thinking on it. How does this play out for the consumer? Like somebody that's going to Shopify, somebody that's going all over the place. Like where does this look like for them? Is everybody going to need like quantum firewall or VPN in the future?
Yeah, I would say that it's like a question of how do you encrypt the whole internet, right? And so the answer is eventually yes. In one word, but the way we do it is we're going to target the most critical, most likely to be attacked places first. So we're not going for consumer right now. It's a whole rabbit hole. We can talk about that later. But if you run a consumer VPN, you get subpoenaed all the time because people download illegal things and they launder money. It's a whole. We've evaluated that in the past. But yes, at the end of the day, you'd want that. But what's more important right now is if you get, say, the Fed fully PQC'd. Right, which is what the government's after, because if that goes down, everything goes down. The whole economy grinds to a halt. Money stops moving, economy stops working, people start dying, actually. And that's actually what gets me out of bed every morning. So yeah, we're starting with the most important place first, but at the end of the day, you will need to have this everywhere. It's going to be a global transition.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead, Derek Bugley.
Thanks. Yeah, I know. Great. I mean, definitely Same. Good name, good spelling of the name. I guess I kind of a couple of thoughts. One, like, I know China's been training crazy models for defense. Like, if you look at like, stuff around like through defense are obviously our adversaries, stuff like that. I wondered what your thought or opinions are of like how the geopolitical world's evolving and how you're thinking about maybe distributing this or reselling this. And then secondly, like the cloud providers, I know there's like a lot of stuff going on around AI inference and, NVIDIA and the other chip companies, like, maybe again, tangential thought, but just like, maybe just give your opinions or thoughts around like how this might play into some of that training and inference power and just like, I'll just say China, like what are your thoughts around like some of the bad actors that are populating and like well ahead of us in terms of like our defense, right?
Totally. Yeah. So China's been actively telegraphing that they're trying to break our encryption with a quantum computer. So they publish public papers that are state funded, a lab saying, I'm trying to figure out how to break your current encryption with a quantum computer, like period, full stop. They have claimed that they've done it. We don't believe those claims are true. That paper's been debunked, but they are trying to do so actively. And this is common knowledge in these circles. As far as the intersection with AI could actually be a potential accelerant in bringing the threat to our existing encryption, right? So it's not just quantum computing; it's actually any advances in computing that could cause the current encryption schema to become obsolete. So that's part of the urgency, right? We actually got here. We've been in the market for quite a long time and made sure that we did everything right. And a lot of the feedback earlier on was like, oh, no one really needs this yet, but we're seeing things heat up. Like our pipeline is proof of that now. So it's a really big thing. The government's extremely concerned about it. There are lots of contracts out there now saying specifically we need PQC for this, that, and the other piece of the DoD or the IC, right? Because of exactly the threat that you outlined from China. And they are the ones who are putting in tons and tons of research and dollars behind this, like you mentioned. So, it's real. And again, like that intersection of geopolitics and cryptography is what got me in the door here to begin with.
Awesome. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, Derek Bugley, for saying the quiet part out loud, and Derek Hetzler for getting out of bed every morning to prevent some of the existential threats on the horizon. Great work. If you want to get in touch with Derek and learn more about American Binary, please make sure to click the buttons below to connect, learn more, and invest. We're going to bring it home with Mariano from Prosperous, where he's transforming the source to procure process for supply chains, and has spent a ton of time both building companies and at large companies, Microsoft, HP, and others. So I'm sure we'll hear more from Mariano and maybe a fun fact.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to meet you all. Fun fact about me, in my free time, I really enjoy challenging sports like triathlons, hiking 14ers here in Colorado, and really getting out there and being active when I can get away from the computer. These days is sparse being a founder. But really excited to bring to you today Prosperous AI. It's an AI-enabled sourcing and procurement platform to simplify the totality of your supply chain. I'd like you to meet one of our customers, Ron. He currently spends weeks auditing his supply chain and months renegotiating contracts. Finding his data necessary to run his material negotiations is complicated, meaning he's spending 30% more on his materials and he's sacrificing gains within his business. Until he found Pi. Prosperous AI is a generative analytic platform that connects to your ERP, your financial, your inventory data, and allows you to query that information, removing the need for data scientists doing complex SQL queries or working within Excel. This allows you to see gaps within your business and see where you might be able to renegotiate contracts. He was able to find thousands of new suppliers by searching our database of 65 million different companies across the globe for his particular requirements of materials and where they're located logistically. This gives them the contact information, who owns the company, and basically everything you need to know. He was able to set his material specifications. Now, this is important for our conversational AI to go and then do the due diligence for Ron. What this looks like is he goes in and actually selects his particular suppliers that he wants to participate within his material supplier conversation. And the conversational AI will then go and do the due diligence for him. It'll see if they can actually qualify the amount of materials that they're looking for, the pricing, and basically the quality standards, all within the platform. Our pricing is simple. $49 for an analytical portion of the business. This allows companies to run a supply chain audit, see where they can increase their value within their material spend. And if they want to move forward with the remainder of the platform, it's $249 per user within their procurement teams. This allows them to carry out thousands of conversations with different suppliers across thousands of different categories of materials. And if they choose to source those materials through Pi, there's a gains fee that we charge. So if they save $100,000 utilizing our platform, we take $20,000 in revenue. Our traction to date since March of 24 is $250,000 in GMV, $21,000 in revenue, and almost $1,000 in MRR. In the first year, we focus on first principles. How do we gain data inside of an industry so that we can expand all the way through the different categories within those product lines? This will get us to about $1.4 million in ARR in the next 12 months. And then we'll focus on those particular industries and expand to gain market share. And then in year 3, we'll expand in adjacent markets, utilizing those supplier relationships to map the manufacturer, distributor, and supplier, making it easy for anyone to join our platform to have zero-touch deployment and immediately have access into their supply chain. We're seeking $500,000 in funding. We're currently backed from Jason Calacanis, and the money's going to go towards continued product development, tech infrastructure, and a robust go-to-market strategy. Our 24/7 powerhouse team is myself and Michael. We've been working together for 10 years, both at HP and Microsoft. Our technical co-founders have massive experience building startups for the past 5 years, building logic databases geared towards AI adoption. Prosperous AI, analytics amplified, sourcing simplified.
Awesome job, Mariano. Love simplifying and reducing friction in legacy industries, and how long you've been working with your co-founder. That's incredible. We'll bring our judges to the stage and encourage everyone in the audience to click the buttons below to get in touch and learn more about Mariano and what he's building at Prosperous. Zach, would love to hear your thoughts on what he's building.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Mariano. I think one question I had, you mentioned something like 60 million potential vendors that people can source from. How were you guys able to collect and verify the vendor information to be able to make those recommendations for your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's part of the due diligence process with our conversational AI. So we actually went and collected as much data as possible across companies that are operating within the United States, Canada, the EU, and a little bit of LATAM. And we were able to actually go and qualify that through the due diligence process. So once we find a list of suppliers who might be able to participate within the bid, we send them this particular information around their supplier qualifications, and the AI will actually carry out whether they are going to be qualified before it's even sent to the user, who then does the final contract renegotiation or anything in that process.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ryan.
Muted. You're muted, bub.
Somebody keeps muting me. Hey, team in the background, I don't want to be muted. Love it. Thanks, Mariano. So question for you. How did you source that initial data? And just a more personal question, what got you excited about solving this problem?
Yeah, absolutely. So at HP, we had a very terrible SAP Ariba migration. We lost somewhere in the around the $400 million in active invoices and POs from clients. And I really saw the complexities that go behind ERP systems. The broader vision for Prosperous is to become a singular location for all of your ERP data to communicate, or your different data sources. Right now, transitioning from like an Oracle to an SAP, or from an SAP to a Coupa, is extremely challenging and actually just prevents companies from doing it at all. What does that mean? They rack up millions of dollars with these particular bills, and they're unable to migrate into more advanced solutions. So my experience at HP really gave me insight into what that looks like for an ERP transition and how messy it is for the data sources to be transferred over from different platforms. And with AI, I saw a way to go to clean, flush, and deduplicate data, and actually allow you to get insights simply by doing natural language queries rather than SQL queries or anything that exists within ERP systems today.
Thanks.
Awesome. Derek.
Cool. Yeah, nice to meet you, Mariano. Good pitch. And yeah, I never shared my fun fact, but I also started to get into ultras. I ran my first ultra last weekend in Iceland, which was a lot of fun. And I trained for it. I really wasn't actually sore, although because it was so beautiful, but I wouldn't run one like on the street. Like I think that'd be miserable. So congrats for you for running all those things. It's like, I guess the crazy founder in us. Ryan asked the first part of my question, which was like, what got you into it, which I was curious on too, because it's like, it's a legacy problem and you have to really be in love with it, which is great. A good answer. Mine was, you called out a couple portions of revenue. Obviously you're building up that MRR. Like, how are you thinking through converting those folks from just the transactional or the services revenue into the contract revenue? Like, how's that conversation been? And what are you thinking about? Like, I guess maybe give me a little bit more context there, and maybe for the investors in the audience.
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to talking to our particular clientele, the reason that we are looking for the sourcing conversation currently is it's a really good entry point to be like, hey, this is where we think we can save you money. This is our database of suppliers. We were able to renegotiate these contracts for you, and we were able to bring down your expenses 20%. Now, the gains fee is probably not something that we can carry out year after year. However, it gives us access to their current ERP system so we can start analyzing their data a little bit more deeply and see where we can expand our feature offering so that we become basically a replacement for that ERP system rather than just a sourcing and procurement tool. So to say the least, the sourcing portion of it is the low-hanging fruit to have fast realized value. And then we'll be moving into actually running deep analytics on the data that they do store across everything from, let's say, your Google Docs, your ERP systems, your financial systems, your forecasting and your inventory data. We'll then be able to actually connect our CodeGen AI that is able to run the analytics on all of those different sources and give you insights into your business. This makes it way more effective than ERP systems that exist today. Usually you'll have a data scientist sitting in the back end, cleaning that data, making it usable for things like Tableau or Power BI, where we want to remove that process and make it easy for someone who's non-technical, more of a business manager, to access that information in real time.
Awesome. Congrats to everyone who's run an ultra marathon, just period. That's really impressive. Matt, bring us home.
Super fast, Mariano. Curious about competitive landscape. Who are your main competitors? Why are you better?
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. And our main competitor, I think, that has the value proposition closest to us is a company called Pactum. What they're really focusing on is AI negotiations. So what you do is you upload basically all the terms of maybe the commodities or opportunities that you're looking for, and the AI will do similar due diligence. They aren't really operating in the analytics portion of the business. So where we differ is we're taking these really old legacy systems. You can imagine Oracle, you can imagine things like Jagger or SAP Ariba you may be familiar with, and we're simplifying the data extraction from those. So not only are we participating in the automated negotiation similar to Pactum, but we are actually running full analytics on their ERP system and their supply chain, figuring out better ways to run their logistics, up and downstream mapping of their supply chains, and basically making them more efficient on the physical goods side. You can offer software as much as you want, but if you don't know what to do when a cargo ship sinks in the Atlantic and don't have data on that, then you're really putting your business at risk, right?
Amazing. Thank you, panelists, for your questions. Thank you, Mariano, for closing us out on the pitch front. If you want to get in touch with Prosperous and learn more, don't forget to click those buttons below. That's it. That's our big four. We had WorkSense, FarUp, American Binary, and Prosperous. Let's bring all of our founders back to the stage and hear what the judges have to say as well. Would love to hear what judges thought in terms of any favorite pitches, themes from the day. And as we have them answer, we'll have viewers get any final intro requests, questions, and comments in the chat. We want to know which startup was your favorite so we can announce a winner. We're here to help these folks close out their fundraisers. We had a lot of success with the last one, so want to see more of that.
Yeah, thank you to all the panelists and all the viewers. That was awesome. It's hard to get investors out in the summertime. I don't know how many of you guys are logging in from the south of France, but I imagine quite a few. No,
Every VC is tweeting back at you right now that they are very much on their keyboards. So.
I know. But yeah, the great presentations to all the founders, and Haley, always awesome hosting job. And thank you again to the panelists. I think we're announcing a winner in the next 30 seconds here. So
yeah, well, we're gonna get the VCs back on stage maybe too, and hear any quick thoughts they had while we're waiting for that winner. Yeah, Matt, Derek, Ryan, Zach, any standouts, thoughts?
I think everybody did a great job today. I loved watching the comments and looking at all the requests for introductions and investment interest. That's really gets me excited to see, you know, this coming together for people and being high leverage. So yeah, really pumped on that. I think everybody's tackling a really interesting problem. There's obviously a lot of passion, and I'm gonna go for Valkyrie because she's got a great name, and B, I think it's a really, you know, big problem that's getting solved and something that's not going away. And but you know, I'm interested in further conversations with everybody that got up today.
Thank you, Ryan. Any other judges want to chime in?
I mean, I really like Derek. Not gonna lie, you know. No, I mean, I thought everyone did a great job too. Like as a founder, like y'all seem super impassioned of what you're doing, but I think more importantly, like you've dug in and like discovered hard problems that like are worth solving, and I think like, you know, it's the bar is set a lot higher early stage to hit milestones and traction and just have a really unique understanding of what you're building for. So everyone gave great answers. Egos were very low. Like obviously everyone's done the work. So just congrats and like keep pushing. I think everyone's building things. But again, I think what I've seen a lot of we sold into the NSA. So like I know the space a little bit, obviously not as clear as you running product for the company, but like my vote would be for Derek, just because I think it's like we saw it selling in the enterprise as well. It was a huge issue across. So I think it's coming for companies, and everyone should be pretty terrified. Not just like our home, I mean, like we have 2 employees who can't get back from Colorado still from the CrowdStrike thing, just like a reset on a Microsoft bug patch. So I can only imagine what's going to happen when bad actors start attacking us with agentic folks. So yeah, I'm gonna move to another country. Maybe Ryan, you have a house somewhere for me, like I can move into New Zealand or something.
Yeah, that'd be great. Are we all invited? Well,
you're welcome.
Fora and American Binary were our top 2 contenders, but we're gonna announce American Binary as the favorite startup today. Congrats, Derek! Great job, and a huge shout out to Chop Shop for the $2,500 giveaway.
Also, I want to say we normally don't like this much doom and gloom because, like, I know we have natural disasters and quantum computing, and then Arshawn's spying on us with his new technology. So I'm going to go ahead and say I like Mariano because it was the only thing that didn't make me terrified today. But other than that, you know, it's nice to see all smiles considering some of the context here. But great work, everyone. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to Haley for hosting. Thank you to the panelists, and again, thanks to the founders. We love putting these on. Don't forget to follow up with any intros you've clicked. And if you're an investor that wants to get on a panel, or you're a founder that wants to get on the next event, we're doing an AI event next month. We're going to do something around mental health the month after that. And if you have any ideas, we love feedback. So thanks again to everyone, and you know, have a great day. I'd normally say weekend, but you know, we don't get to take anything off until Friday. So have a good one, guys.
Thanks so much, guys. Great job, everybody.
Y'all.